Hey, hey, and good morning. Good morning, AJ. Welcome to my open workshop on Saturday morning, where we can dive back into the beautiful Crewe Preston DLC by Just Trains. It's actually been some time that I was able to dig really deep into one DLC, into one type of trains, a couple of locomotives associated with this DLC and route. I think this gives you a much better feeling for the route as a place, as an entity in time and space, as when you just rush back and forth a couple of times and then go over to the next. So the uh, lull of this stream of new releases was actually quite nice. The scenario text is a bit off, yeah, thank you. I was actually looking at it and planning to correct it, but I was trying to end my thought first, so now it should be done. Locomotive on test is the last scenario that we play here, so we've played like all the other 4 scenarios in on stream. Actually, that's the new. I play all the scenarios on stream, but they were all really interesting. The merry-go-round, Out with a Bang, Thunderbirds are Go, Deep Call, enjoy them a lot, and now we are going to dig into one that is rated with 2 hours and 5, so that will take quite some time, I'm afraid. And we have to check out Locomotive 86426 after getting her back from maintenance, and we are supposed to test it on a run to ensure that everything works as expected. Scenario tells us that apart from 86/4, we also have to drive the 47/3. That hints to the fact that not everything works as expected, and we have to pull our 86/4 back with the diesel, but I have no idea. Haven't played it. It looks long. It has a high number of points that we need to get platinum. That also points into the direction that it is quite a longish bit. And I think we're gonna just play it and enjoy it. Mark the disclaimer, got this DLC for free from DTG as an ambassador. Nevertheless, when I tell you that I really love this DLC and enjoy it a lot and love and enjoy digging into it, then this is because I enjoy love and like digging into it. With all those services going left and right of the main track, this is a DLC that can give you really the feel that this place exists or existed in the era at the time, and that you are not only sitting in a tube to run from A to B and back from B to A. Yuhu Sobota, yes, it's the Sobota stream, and the Sobota Rano stream, the Saturday morning stream. S6426 has recently returned from a long overhaul today. You're putting it through its paces. Speak to the depot manager, and here he is. You can always recognize them from their haircut and their coat. Yard foreman, today you're testing 86426 to ensure that she works as expected. A rake of coaches is waiting for you at Crewe. I'll ensure that I don't trash it too much. Yes, we will do that. Climb aboard and find the driver's seat. I wonder which car is the one that I came in. Probably the yellow one. Those look a bit like hearses here, right? Apparently they're not. And this is apparently Sir Francis Drake. Is it the locomotive that we are supposed to use, or one next to it? Where can I go around? Probably here, closer to the gates. It's not the Francis Drake that we're going to drive. It's not the city of Liverpool. It is that blue one. Is it not? Yes. E3195. Look at this beautiful locomotive. Look at this beautiful locomotive. Oh wow, he says, you never cease to amaze me, he says. That is very nice of you to say. We have to sit in the driver's seat first. The loco will need starting from cold. You'll then couple up to the test track of coaches at Crewe Station. Alright. And let's start it from cold. It's an electric locomotive. It's not that complicated. We don't have to start a diesel. But we gotta get all the electricity circuits going and the panto up. So if you're looking for stuff that you don't find in the cab, it is typically on this panel. The battery isolation switch is here. While we're here, I can also turn on the DSD. I'm always leaning to the left here when I go there, because if you're leaning to the right, you get this funny bargo. And the AWS lever. Yeah. Hello? Set the master key switch. I will sit down for that. Set the train brake to the first application. Set the master switch to forward. Never mix up the master switch and the master key switch. Set the tail lights to off. That's one here. While we're at the lights, turn on the proper lights, headlights and markers. Set the handbrake to release, that is behind the glass here. Now we already have the DSD running. While we go up, release the handbrake. Set the train brake to running. And then they also already want us to leave with notching up. Never really hurts to ask the signaler whether we can go check the switches. They're only going up until the signal, so we won't actually get the clearance from the signaler. He denies us. Well, it's actually a bit of a problem, because without a go from the signaler or the yard master that we are allowed to draw up to the signal, we actually should not be allowed to draw up to the signal. Now we got a signal. Now we're drawing up to signal Charlie Echo 142. Or is now in the remote controlled switch era. Probably we can go a bit faster here. Look how beautiful that scenery looks at Crewe. It's from the electric siding. You might remember that we put the broken locomotive there in the Out With a Bang scenario. It's the electric maintenance depot. And that one is a different one, obviously. But nevertheless, the same depot. And we can go 75 here, but there's not much point in doing so, since we're already approaching caution signal. So what's for lunch, he asked me. Well, if AJ has not finished them, I have still some cheese tortellinis. AJ hasn't. So there are some tortellinis with cheese sauce left that I made for late dinner last night. So that's for lunch probably. Rare loco livery, rare part to visit in this route, but all the more interesting that you have those parts also represented on this route. The depots and sidings away from the main. Line. Digby, hi Tiger, no, call run again. No, this time we're actually checking out whether the maintenance work they did on this early electric locomotive, the 86/4, worked as intended. It's one with a special livery, with a special appearance in this scenario. And we're just enjoying the drive out of the electric maintenance depot close to Crewe. And I was just saying that I love how all the places away from the main route are represented in this DLC. Contact the signaler to gain authority to proceed to platform 12. And doing this in the oops, was there still some electricity on, so that we leave our cab and talk to him with a signal phone. And now we got a signal, a subsidiary signal, position light signal, the white dots next to the red one that allow us to enter an occupied piece of track. We're going to Crewe 12. Since we don't have TPWS, we don't need to put the override function on. Let's just see. We are all in a 20, or is it 15? At any rate, we need to couple up. It'd be so much more fun if those locals talked like Thomas. Well, you can make her talk if you want. You have to choose a name for her. can't come with anything clever. Subscribed at tier 1 for 3 months in advance. Thank you so much for subscribing, Sir Digby. So, our passenger cars. It has the Buckeye out, has it not? So we cannot really couple without changing the coupler first. That was not me. That was probably this 47 that wants to leave. So, since this thing that we have to couple to has the Buckeye out, we have to change the coupler type from Buckeye to hook, because we only have a hook and not a Buckeye. Some locals talk like Sifa, Sifa. Well, I would never have noticed that we had to do that. Well, it just does not fit if you don't change it. And they don't tell you that sometimes. And, well, if you click on it long enough, then it typically works anyway. Okay. Now we should be press. Can go on actually emergency here even, because we have to change sides. Can already turn the lights off. We will have to do this later anyway. And off, loco brakes off. This one in shutdown. Master key switch off. Change ends, and also the AWS isolation switch for safety reasons. Sometimes it provides some. So here, manual coupling. The test brake only has 6 coaches. The class 47 has been provided on the rear for insurance purposes, just in case things go pear-shaped. And this bling 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 was because we already locked down the cap on the opposite side. Lights. Master key. Whoa. And AJ says I would have just driven against it repeatedly with the same result. Well, if you just click on the connection long enough, at some point it will most probably just switch it, and then it will couple. We'll be following a passenger service out of Crewe. This will allow us to test things without delaying the following passenger services. Alright. Turn on the headlights and marker lights. We've already done this. Train brake to running. See that the brake pipe fills properly. Is set the power controller to notch up, forward, hold, and we can release that. We can notch up a bit. No more than 50. So we've got a 47/3 at the end, and somebody actually thought of turning on the lamp at the rear. Now we're leaving Crewe. Crewe typically has the 20 limit when leaving, yes. Then 80, then 110. Our limit is 100 with a stroke for 86. But they told us not to go faster than 50 anyway. They did not ask us to turn on the train line though. Nevertheless, I think we should turn them on now that we have passenger cars coupled up. So my car is coming nicely on. Yes, looks good. And we can apply a bit more power, I guess. It should be out of the 20, yes we are. And now give her some time to shine. Here's the marker for the 110 already. So we should not go faster than 50. But we can definitely put her into the mid-yellow range here. Does this tell us the 50 limit? No, it allows us actually to go 95 for whatever reason. Because we have the 47 at the tail, and the 47 at the tail is limiting us to 95. Apparently, it is not allowed to go faster than 95, even when it is just pulled along. There is a neutral section. You see, woof, we lose all power at this point. We still have line volts after it again, but we have to wait for the tap changer to go back to 0, get the power controller down to off, and then we can normally power up again. If you drive a bit more attentively than I am doing this at the moment, then you would obviously prepare for the neutral sections in advance and have your tap changer run down before you get close to them. So that you don't run into them, and sometimes they can also blow your safety relays, especially when you run into them with power on. It's refreshing going faster for once. Well, we're not going faster than 50, eh? And they are not, yeah, they just asked us not to go faster than 50, but they are not docking us for us. The last few services were so slow. Yes, they were. Actually, it's much more difficult to control those trains when you're only going so slow in a certain way. Slow, heavy trains. And still you want to control them to the point and not be too late. So still no name for her. Probably I will just call her Ducky, because she walks like a dog, quacks like a dog, looks like a dog. Maybe because she has this white hood at the cabs. So, if I'm supposed to talk Ducky, then somebody has to take over for Ringo Starr or whatever narrator you want to have in your Thomas episode. Something like Ducky wanted to show her driver that the new refurbishment made her really strong, and she was now able to pull 5 passenger cars and more without any effort reliably along the whole main line, just like Gordon the Express. And then the Fed controller told her that she mustn't go faster than 50 miles per hour. That was a bummer. But at first she thought she will comply, and grumbling she kept to 50 miles per hour, telling each and everybody they met, I'm only going 50 miles per hour because the Fed controller told me to. But actually with my new refurbishments I can go much faster and pull not only 5 but many more cars reliably up and down the line within a day or less. Someone's been watching Thomas. Well, yeah. But still she was not allowed to go faster than 50 miles per hour. But being a good girl at first, she thought she would comply. Maybe she will be allowed to go faster later. But already she got some doubts about the passenger express in front of her. What happens if the passenger express runs away while we're only going 50 miles per hour? They will think it is my fault because I did not pull enough, did not pull hard enough. So she always tried to put her tap changer in notches higher up to signal the driver that she is totally willing and ready to go faster than 50 miles per hour. While keeping the effort in the low greens. I can do this easily, she said to every squirrel and every bird that they met on the way. I'm only going 50 miles per hour because the Fed controller ordered me to. Actually, I could go much faster. And now they encountered a signal. The double yellow. She thought, well, I'm only allowed to go 50 miles per hour. A double yellow does not really frighten us. I can still just coast on easily. Single yellow might be a different story, but a double yellow we can coast on with 50 easily. And my powerful air brakes will stop the train in no time, even when we get closer to a signal of danger. And so they ran through the station of Winsford. And blew her horn enthusiastically. But soon after, they actually encountered a single yellow signal, cautioning them to prepare to stop at the next signal. And the driver applied the brakes first, only the first application, and a bit more. And the coaches, being the reliant coaches as they were, they just slowed down the train. Even below the 50 miles per hour the Ducky was allowed to go. Not knowing where the next signal actually was, the driver all of a sudden saw an AWS magnet and pulled the brakes even more. And the AWS system blew the horn. But the signal was not red at all, it was already turned to a single yellow, most probably an approach controlled one. At the junction signal, telling Ducky to go into the slow line, and she thought, well, now I've got my refurbishments and I have to go into the slow line. I wonder when I will be allowed to bring out my full potential. Actually, it is 30 here. Is it 30? It is 30, yes. The line coming from the left, from the... It's not the oil terminal, it's a different siding. Nevertheless, it is coming from the left. And where the lines connect. We will be traveling on the slow line then. Not forgetting that the junction signal was yellow. The driver did not speed up. Even after the train had entered the slow line. What was good, because the limit was 30 there anyway. And we have to be prepared to stop at the next signal. And soon after, the next AWS magnet became visible. Driver braked, and actually the signal was red. And they were overtaken, surpassed by another train. The driver had the Ducky go to the signal really slow, without stopping in front. If it can be helped. Just coasting towards the signal. But in the end they had to stop anyway. Driver go out to signal, to phone the signaler, tell them that they are waiting at the signal. Well, he got told to wait, because there was a lot of traffic on the main line. Now they even had to allow for a freight train to pass them. Intermodal train, a lot of colorful containers, and the signal remained red. And then it changed. And they were able to go on, still under caution though. And limited to 30 because they were coming out of the siding. Alright, so Ducky, maybe I will be allowed to go faster than 50 miles per hour now. Now that we have allowed all the other trains to pass. Just go out on the main line and, well, here is only one line for each direction, so we cannot put on the slow line anymore. And the coaches were following suit nicely. No, I was faster. I did it myself because I wasn't sure. Actually, the signals are clearing. Train in front of us is faster. Even bore. Nice to see your raccoon face with wings. And again, Ducky thought, let's go faster. But she wasn't allowed to go faster than 50 miles per hour. Whenever she tried to go faster, the driver cut power, and the tap changer was running back to 0. And the train coasted. Well, thought Ducky, if I'm not allowed to go any faster, then I might as well use all the energy that I'm getting from the overhead catenary to heat the train really nicely. The first tests will be the tap changer and brakes. Follow the instructions given to you. And then she was jumped by her driver, now wanting to do all kinds of tests. Set the power controller to run up for 3 seconds. Alright. First warn the people at the station here. Set the power controller to hold and reach 70. And now Ducky was allowed finally to go faster than 50 miles per hour. They were even ordering her to speed up to 70 in almost no time. Finally I can make use of my newly refurbished circuit, she thought, and circled the tap changer up to almost maximum. While the effort meters jumped up into the mid-yellow. But then the test required to slow down again. That completes the test. Increase to line speed after Warrington. We will be performing an emergency stop to test the brakes. Oh no, thought Ducky. Not an emergency stop. That almost pulls my couplers so badly. So, now they ask us to go to line speed with the 47. At the tail we cannot go faster than 95, so we cannot make use of the line speed of 110. But 95 should be good enough then. Good thing we are on the fast line. Now we are still passing Acton Bridge, I think. There will be a dead section before we get to the junction between Liverpool and Warrington. And Ducky was rejoicing. Now I can go 95 miles per hour without any effort, as you can see. We could go even faster without the 47 at the tail. Easy, said her driver. We will get to this soon enough. You're only allowed to go 100 anyway. So it's only 5 miles. Now the dead section was announced. I'm preparing for the dead section. Ducky pumped up her circuits to lose as little speed as possible when they were actually hitting the dead section. But then the driver put the power controller into rundown because he did not want the newly refurbished circuits to be destroyed by the dead section. Here is the junction to Liverpool. Here's the dead section. And clonk. And clonk. Back we are. Give me more power, said Ducky. We are through the dead section, alright, and we have to go uphill to Warrington. And the driver complied and pumped the tap changer to maximum. And soon enough they were already approaching 95 miles again. And even going beyond it a bit. Make way, you slow coal train. Ducky called over when they passed the coal train coming in the opposite direction. We must go much faster than you're going with your hopper wagons. And so they did. Flying under a line that was coming from nowhere, from the left through a beautiful and picturesque valley. And then you could already see Briar Ferry's power plant. And Ducky thought, I'm so happy that I don't have to pull those slow coal hopper trains, but that I am newly refurbished to pull the express coaches. Now take it easy, said the driver, you have to slow down to 90 when we get to the bridge. And Ducky thought, oh well, if needs must, we will slow down to 90. I had the train coast uphill nicely. And she said to the driver, it's 90, 90, you can just apply more power. And the driver said, oh well, you have to slow down to 75 when passing Warrington, you know that. And Ducky said, just after passing Warrington. So the driver applied more power so that they wouldn't be slowed down too much by the incline towards the bridge. And when they hit the 90 sign, they were well within the speed limit. But then all of a sudden a double yellow signal was jumping at them from out of the blue, and the driver had Ducky run down her tap changer. And the frame rate dropped severely when they were approaching Warrington. And when they approached the next signal, they were relieved that it was only showing a double yellow. So the driver released the brake again, realizing that they are nicely below the 75 limit that they would encounter just after passing Warrington. And here was the moped board. Ducky thought, I was right after all, it is just after Warrington. Next signal was double yellow again. And they were passing the bridge with a smiley face. See, said Ducky to a driver, this is where the 75 limits begins. Way past Warrington station. And right she was. Here was the old sign for the 75. And the driver said, nevertheless, we are running under a double yellow, so please don't expect me to apply any more power. If we happen to get a single yellow, we have to slow down even more. So hold your horses. And Ducky said, well, it's a double yellow anyway, and now we are back to 90. And the driver said, yeah, we well might well be, but I'm not going faster than 60 miles when I'm running under a double yellow. And Ducky said, sure. Because she did not want to pull a fight. Next thing to happen will be here where the duckies quacking. Was a green signal. So Ducky thought, okay, he will probably apply more power, and so the driver did apply more power. But they would still have to stay below the 80 because they were already approaching the next junction. So deep below, I generally thought Diesel was the oncoming train. Yeah, maybe we will encounter him later. So, we're limited to 80 here, the driver told Ducky, because we're going right at this junction. Also, here is a nice spot for train spotters. Running around the bend. Ducky pointed out the 100-mile sign to the driver. Driver checked whether all the coaches were through, and then he also thought, well, let's give it a bit more power. But keeping in mind that at the end of this straight they would be required to slow down to 80 again. Yes, but there will be an incline, Ducky said. That will slow us down anyway. Apply an emergency brake all of a sudden, the Fed controller told them. But only when directed. So they almost forgot the dead section here. And for a short while, Ducky was confused. But then the driver pulled the emergency brake. And Ducky felt the strain of the coaches pulling at the couplers and her bogies getting wedged to the ground. Primary and secondary suspension straining, creaking. And Ducky thought, this is what I got refurbished for, now I have to go through all this strain. And then after a while the strain lessened and the train came to a stop. Those brakes definitely work, said the Fed controller. That complies to testing. Take the train to Preston. Alright, good thing that we survived this, thought Ducky, as the driver put the brake handle back into running to release the brakes. Ducky felt her brake pipe fill and thought, well, my brake pipe is already full. Coaches, speed up a bit. But the coaches thought, well, we are at the end of the train. It is easy for you with your compressor main reservoir in your belly. We have to wait until we get it delivered. So they waited a bit until the brake pipe actually filled until the end. Then the driver applied the roco brake. Notched up into first, notched on the tap changer, watched the brake gauge as the air went out of the brake cylinders, and then with some little resistance uphill, Ducky was able to pull the coaches into movement again. Who? Says CD Radar. It's when the CD Radar in the Thomas story. So we're going through Wigan. And now the driver had no qualms to put Ducky's tap changer into the mid-yellow range. They were not going into slow line, but on the fast line. The signals were green, at least so it seemed. And since Ducky had no trouble accelerating through 50 miles per hour in the yellow range, they passed the 100 mile sign. Alright, let's go 100 miles, said Ducky, but the driver said, no, we can't. We still have the 47 at the tail, we cannot only go 95. Bugger, thought Ducky. Why are we pulling him along anyway? It's Cousin Hugo. Doesn't do a thing, just gets pulled around and is slowing us down. Typical. No, my story would be in 21st century. Cousin Hugo, yeah, Hugo, yes, it's... Maybe he will have his part in the story. Oh no, all of a sudden they encountered a single yellow while the driver was not paying attention. And so they activated a emergency brake again. On the fly. And then the driver thought maybe I can release the emergency brake on the fly and approach the red signal without stopping the train. But this did not work. The coaches had applied their brakes and they could not be released so fast. And Ducky thought, well, that was a bit overdone. But the driver thought, better this than running into a red signal and spatting. See, I don't know this tell well enough to say which character would suit me best. You'd probably be Henry. Did you realize the brake pads? Why the brake pads? Brake pads were very upset about it. And even though they stopped the train on the way, the signal that they were approaching was still red. But it was an approach control one. And approach control signals are closely related to the troublesome trucks, because they always switch when you're only just about to stop. And then the driver told Ducky, don't worry, they're just sending us into the slow lane. We could have known because the objective marker says so. Wiggin down slow. And then the driver looked it up in his timetable that they had to slow down actually to 15 for the switch. See, the narrator doesn't want to be the brake pads. Well, or did you not want to be Henry? Henry has a very beautiful green livery. And he is famous for not wanting to leave the tunnel because it was raining. He thought, I prefer sunshine and I don't want my beautiful paint to get wet. So, the driver checked out whether all the coaches were coming nicely, but he couldn't see them. Ah, yeah. And then he would accelerate after clearing the switch to 75, who was the speed limit on the slow line. By doing so, pushing the effort meter almost into the reds, but Ducky thought, well, with my newly refurbished circuits I can do this easily, as they were overtaken by an express train. And again the signal was red. So they had their third emergency brake application in the day, and the driver said, well, that was a good opportunity to test the sender, and the sender was working nicely as he activated the loco brake and put the train brakes into recharge, overcharged them even, so that the slow coaches would release easy. You want me to be Henry so you can lock me and wall me up and finally have peace from me? No. Henry actually was a pillar of the community after he got out of the tunnel again. I always thought it was a bit hard to wall him in. So that the driver, enough of emergency brake applications. After the next yellow signal, I will have to rein you in, Ducky. And Ducky thought, well, okay. I've had enough of the emergency brake applications too. I won't insist. The plot twist will be that driver is actually the villain. Yes. The drivers usually are. They don't even have names. Unlike the fat controller. Yes. And a minute later they were still sitting on the slow lane. On the slow line. Waiting at the red signal. Whiskey November 7. Driver had already telephoned the signaler, but the signaler wouldn't let him go. Cousin Hugo at the end had already fallen asleep. And then, all of a sudden, the signal switched to yellow. And Ducky. Sababa, oh no, that's a different story. I don't know that story, Sababa. Oh no. And then the game crashed. Well, that is a sad ending for this story. I'm afraid it's such a long scenario, I cannot play it just back to back and do something else. I don't know if I will be that the game is actually the villain. Yeah, it crashed. Maybe because I had some mini tweaks in it, maybe because of the performance that it wants. In any way, it crashed, and this episode of Ducky and the new refurbishment ends here. Um, we will see what we do. Probably not be back today, but if I am, you will get a notification, and if not, we will meet again tomorrow at 8. And Bombers the CD Radar, I just made food. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. Maybe next time without the init tweaks to have it run a bit more reliably. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed my interpretation of Doki and her role in the Thomas universe. It was fun, this AG. It was actually fun doing it. Such a bummer that we did not get to the point where cousin Hugo was taking over and pulling the whole contraption back to Crewe. Maybe we will do this at some different point. Maybe I will play the scenario out of stream and then at some point go into stream. Uh, at any rate, we will find a way. Thank you so much for bearing with me, and see you soon. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, and then we play the rest of this scenario. Bye bye.